Hey, my name is Sarah, and welcome back to Talking Fast. That's Jacob, and I would like to know what you are drinking right now.
Well, Sarah, I'm just fresh off the plane from Mexico. Spent a week there.
Real tough life.
I don't know if you can tell, I got this crazy, amazing tan.
Incredible.
Thank you. So I'm drinking aloe juice. I don't have any. I think I've been told that could help with a sunburn that I'm trying to cover up everywhere but my face. I got lucky with the face.
Is that like a healing from within thing? Like, how does drinking aloe?
I'm hoping that it's going to be a bit of a placebo effect where, like, by the sense of you rub aloe on your skin, it feels better. Maybe if you drink one of those aloe juices, your essence is cured and the sunburn goes away.
So do you like little bits in your drinks? Like, you're fine with the little, like, slimy little gooey...
Until you said that, I forgot that they're the little floating bits.
Yeah, floating bits of aloe.
Do you have any recommendations then for what I could do?
No, because I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really get sunburnt.
Really?
Rarely.
Oh
I get burnt like once a year maybe, and that's because I'm dumb and if I don't wear sunscreen. If I wear sunscreen, I don't get burnt really.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just like...
There's nothing you can do. I'm sorry.
I'll just suffer for the next few days. What about you? What do you have?
Speaking of suffering, I'm suffering through this really bad matcha drink that I won't even show the people that are watching on YouTube because I don't like it. It tastes chalky and my throat is covered and I'm a little concerned about how I'm going to sound on this episode now.
I was going to say, I saw it out of the corner of my eye and it doesn't, first of all, I don't want to drink anything that doesn't look appetizing. And that looks like an art supply for like a kid's classroom.
Like one, like they mix all the colors together and then it's like the paint. I know. I got like duped at the grocery store. This woman was like, these are on sale, blah, blah, blah. And like, I saw the green. You guys know I like the color green.
How much was it?
Like $5 and something.
$5 is not on sale for a drink like that.
Yeah, but it's like greenhouse, so it is on sale for
What does that mean?
It's greenhouse juices, and it comes with like the glass bottle. So I'll reuse the bottle. I'll have a purpose. I'll reuse the glass bottle.
A little bit of a redemption for you there.
Maybe just a tad, but I will not be repurchasing.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Sarah, what are you watching? What are we watching this week?
Oh my God, I for the last 24 hours have watched both seasons of Abbott Elementary.
What is this?
Wait.
Am I going to
get
canceled?
Ask
Am I going to get canceled right now?
Did you just ask me what Emmy and Golden Globe winning show Abbott Elementary is?
Sarah, I'm so far behind on my TV watching. It's not even funny.
That's like actually like we might have to do a strike system here because like, you know how I said like episode 1 that you're the co-host for now?
Like that might be the foreseeable future is about to run out.
That might be your first strike.
Wow.
Abbott Elementary, Keenta Brunson used to work for BuzzFeed. That was like her start forever ago. And then she went on and wrote this show. And it's literally like The Office, but it's set in an elementary school. And it's a like comedy sitcom. It's so good. It's so funny. Anyways, it's amazing. The guy from Everybody Hates Chris is in it. Like it is.
Okay, you know what?
Do you watch award shows? They've won everything at the Emmys and Golden Globes over the past few weeks. Oh my God, our next guest is like going to be it's going to be ridiculous. Our guest today is going to be like embarrassed that she's on this show.
Hopefully I make it as co-host through the end of this episode because it's not looking good for me.
When the camera's cut and you guys don't see Jacob anymore, then you'll know why. Oh my God. Okay, well go home and like educate yourself.
Okay,
on
well then
Abbott
I'm going to change what I'm watching this week. I'm going to watch this as well. I hereby declare.
What's the show called?
Abbott Elementary.
There we go. All right. Well, you should just, go and watch Abbott. But I want to know, what are you listening to? Because you spent a lot of time on an airplane.
It's true. I spent a lot of time on an airplane. And I was away for a week with my family. And I was talking this up to them both on the ground at the beach and then to everyone else. I was listening to our show Talking Fast, which actually charted. Our first episode charted on both the iTunes.
Neither of us were paying attention to it, nor did we notice, but it did chart.
Spotify, I think, was a little bit higher. So, get those follows up there, and we'll see how we go.
So when I was looking at the chart of where people listen from, that's where, the Mexico contingency came from. It was you doing some on-the-ground promo.
We were 15, 20 or something in Canada. We were number 1 in Mexico.
100%. There's, it's so interesting looking at the back end analytics. There's some random countries that people listen in. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. What about you? What are you listening to?
I could say Taylor Swift every single week, but specifically this week, it was a lot of Taylor Swift because I'm re-entered my Reputation era.
Right.
If you know what that means, and I will not speak further. My Reputation era has begun.
Well, I guess we'll leave it at that.
With this next guest, I grossly embarrassed myself when I didn't save her number in my phone. And then I had to ask, who is this, when they wanted to meet up at an event. Whether you recognize her calming voice from the radio or updating you on all the latest celebrity news and stories on your TikTok feed, Shannon Burns has quickly made a name for herself as one of the most recognizable faces in Canadian radio. I'm so excited she's here because selfishly, I'm hoping that she can give us a few tips for this show. Please welcome Shannon Burns.
Yay, what an intro. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for coming. Selfishly, we are just here having you here to
this is just for feedback.
It's it's just feedback.
We're new to this, right? So
yeah,
we're trying to bring in a professional.
I have listened to the podcast and I do have some notes.
Okay, well, we can talk
Give
about
them
those.
to us.
I'm totally kidding. You guys are fantastic.
We say we want constructive feedback and then it's like, oh wait, you're actually going to give it?
You're like,
maybe
never mind.
not.
No, I'm a big fan of the podcast. You guys are great. Obviously, you have garnered an audience for a reason. You're very authentic and you guys have a great rapport. So
look at her taking over hosting. She already knows what to do.
You're killing it.
We're turning it around. It's also just selfishly a way for us to finally hang out because we've been saying we're going to hang out forever.
That's
so
true.
You just ask people to come on the pod and then it makes sure they have no other plans that night and then you get to go hang out
out
after.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
the
excited.
best. Okay, so obviously you work in radio and what I want to know is, and what most people, when I said that you were coming on the pod, is they're like, we want to know how she actually got started. Because I think there's a lot of people that also just want to work in media that listen. So tell us the Shannon Burns origin story.
Yeah, that is a question that I do get a lot because people are like, how do you get a job in radio? How does that happen? But you can actually go to school for it, which a lot of people don't realize. So I went to school for TV and radio broadcasting. That was the program that I went to at Niagara College. There was film in there too, but I wasn't great at that. And then I dropped it right away. So I ended up majoring in presentation. So anything like in front of the microphone or in front of the camera. And then we were trained in things like news and sports and radio and all of that stuff. And radio is really just the thing that I fell in love with. I loved it because I'm not great with sports. Sorry, Sarah.
Same.
News is just so serious. So I didn't want to face that every day. So radio just really seemed like the thing that would really allow me to talk about the things that I was actually interested in and have a lot of fun. And the thing I say about radio all the time is it's such a great job because the more fun that you have on the radio, the better job that you're doing. So I was like, I want to have that challenge every single day. So I went to school for that. And then it was really just about working my way up after that. So I started as an intern actually in Alberta. The teachers kind of advise that if you want to make it, it's best to just go to a small town and then start working your way up rather than try and get a job in Toronto right away. So I went to Alberta, started in Medicine Hat, Alberta as a co-host.
Medicine Hat?
Yeah, of a co-host of a rock station, Rock 105.3 with Shannon and Poncho in the morning. So I co-hosted a morning show at a rock station. It was one of 3 stations in the town. Yeah, it was really a very interesting experience and I learned a lot. And then ended up getting a job on air in Edmonton at Virgin Radio Edmonton where I went up, worked my way up there for a couple years and then I got offered a job at Chum 104.5 in Toronto. So then I ended up hosting the evening show there and then from there I got asked if I wanted to host a show on Virgin Radio, which now is syndicated and airs across 10 cities in Canada.
Oh my God.
So yeah, every single day or every weekday. So now I've been doing that for about a year and a half and here I am.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Crazy, right?
How was moving to Alberta? I just need to know because so we went to radio and television school as well, Jacob and I did. Yeah. And I remember the thing that you always drilled in our head was Toronto's not where your career starts, it's where your career ends. And they used to always say that. And it's because if you fail there, then you're not getting back in and all these scary things, which isn't really that true. They just scare you.
Oh, I know.
But it's so common to have to go other places.
Yeah.
But so you had to go to the other side of the country because you're from here.
I'm from here. I'm from Burlington. So I'm from right outside Toronto. So I always wanted to live in Toronto. But then, I didn't know anyone in Edmonton. I lied to the people that I did the job interview with. And I was like, I have tons of friends and family that live there. I didn't know anyone. So then I got the internship and then, went out there. It was definitely an interesting experience. I moved there in the middle of January. So it was minus 30 snow, Edmonton weather. So that was definitely an adjustment. And then, I ended up living there for 5 years in Alberta total. And I fell in love with it because the people there are just so great. They're what makes that area. So some of my closest friends are from there and I go back every year and it was great. But also I'm a lesbian and it's really conservative. So there's that whole thing too.
well, I was going to ask how do you even 5 years ago, how do you even begin making friends in these in Medicine Hat? That's so tiny. I assume everyone would be everyone went to high school with each other. Like they all know each other.
Totally. Yeah. I moved in with 2 girls I met on Kijiji, and they'd like never met a queer person before.
How do you do that?
I like just like reached out to them, and yeah, it was crazy. And I remember asking them, I like was texting with the one girl, and I was like, are you guys like LGBTQ plus friendly? Because I wanted to make sure that they weren't against that if I'm going to be living with them. And they were like, what is that? Like, what does that mean? And I was like, oh, like, are you okay with gay people? They're like, yeah, sure. Like, I've never met anyone, but I'm sure it's fine. So it was very much like that. So I felt like I was introducing things to people, I guess, in that way. But then by the time I moved to Edmonton, I was like, found my people. There's like a great queer scene there, and like
Edmonton, shockingly, like I only went to Edmonton for the first time like literally a month ago, and I was like, I met up with like your friend,
my friend,
so,
I know.
But it's so funny because like they were talking about how like Edmonton's actually like way more progressive than like Calgary, which I think is probably what most people wouldn't realize. Yeah, and like my friend from Calgary was like vouching for that, so it was really like I was a little bit shocked, but it was actually like really cool. Edmonton was cooler than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, to be honest.
That's what I say to everyone, because they're like, "Oh, Edmonton," and I'm like, "Don't judge it before you experience it."
We give it too bad of a rap here in Toronto as well.
People
like, and people
really
in Toronto just like love Toronto and nowhere else. You know,
I know they like don't want like it's like the center of the universe.
Yeah, and I say that as someone who's like born and raised in Ontario.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I guess like something that like people that are listening to the show that could take out of that is like how like do you go and make friends in a new, like it's something that you probably get questions about all the time, like moving to new cities and whatever, but how do you go and move to like the middle of nowhere and then make friends and make like lifelong friends?
What worked for me is the internet. I've always
the best.
Before it was TikTok, it was Instagram. Before it was Instagram, I was on Tumblr. Like it just whatever platform works for you. But I knew I had 2 friends in Edmonton that I knew from Tumblr that I'd never met in person. So that really, when I say I didn't know anyone, it was like just 2 people who I had followed online. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey, and they were queer as well. So I was like, hey, do you guys want to hang out? And then we ended up hanging out the first weekend that I moved there, and they're still 2 of my closest friends. Paulina, our friend, her wife.
Oh my God.
Yeah, was one of the girls who I ended up dating for like a year. So, which also happens, you know. So it's just things like that. It's really just making an effort and reaching out to people. And then if they say, sometimes people will be like, yeah, let's hang out, and then never end up making plans with you. And that's something that happens a lot.
All the time.
But it's really just taking that initiative and like going for it. So and trying to be like as outgoing as you can and things like that. I do consider myself a pretty outgoing person. So I do find it can be easier to make friends in that way. But even like moving to Toronto after living in Alberta for 5 years, I'd never lived in Toronto before. I lost a lot of my friends that I grew up with after coming out, because I grew up in like a really religious community. So I didn't have any of those friends anymore. So moving to Toronto too is also a challenge. And I found it a lot harder to make friends in Toronto than I did in Edmonton.
That's really surprising. And also just note that like, if you guys don't know, like Shannon hangs out with like the coolest, like you have the coolest friend group in the city.
Toronto?
Like, yeah, literally.
I do think my friends are really cool.
Do you know who she's friends with? Like your friend group is like legitimately like someone I work with was like, wait, you know Shannon? Do you know she hangs out with all the cool lesbians in Toronto? And like I know Lex and stuff too, but like you guys are known as like.
I was gonna say, I think when I got on TikTok, you were probably one of my first follows.
Oh no way!
Yeah, and I was just like, first of all, I just love pop culture as well. So that was something.
Love
clearly not, because you don't know what
Abbott Elementary.
Listen, I'll take my 1 strike, give me 2 more. But then aside from that, I was just like, this is like a cast of characters that you have. That's like a sitcom of its own. Not in like that it's a funny way or anything like that, but I'm just like, this is an aspirational friend group that I would love. And then also speaking about building community and whatnot too, I've seen in your comments almost nonstop, you're like, how do I find a friendship group like this? Can I join your friend group? Is what people are always saying.
Did I ask to join? Absolutely.
Yeah, and the more the merrier. Like, let's keep it going. But that actually ended up turning into something this past summer, because I would post about my friend group and things online, and I had a lot of questions like that. So then I was talking to another friend about that, and we're like, we should plan like a big queer meetup and like have a place for a lot of people to meet each other before Pride takes place, because there was a lot of people that came out during the pandemic that hadn't experienced Pride before, and it is a lot to take in. So we wanted to create a space for people to meet friends before going to Pride, or like hang out with our friend group and things like that, and actually make that happen. So we planned like a queer Pride picnic in June of this past year, and there was like 1,500 people that showed up.
1,500?
Yeah. So like,
amazing.
Right. Wait, that's incredible.
Yeah, we had it at Chrissy Pitts, and it like we posted a few videos on TikTok that blew up. So then that got a lot of people to come, and then it just turned into this big event, and it was so fun. So then we had another beach day, and then we're gonna plan for more in the future. But there were so many people that then made friends at the event, which is exactly what we were going for. So yeah, it was really great. And then we ran into people at Pride that had met at the picnic that were there with each other, and we were like crying. It was a whole thing. So
oh my God,
great.
I love that. That's actually, I didn't even think about how like, yeah, because Pride is like, so I've worked Pride before when I worked for a beer company.
Oh yeah.
I didn't sleep that entire weekend. It was the most insane week of my life. But I think too, it actually might feel isolating for some people if they don't have people to like celebrate Pride with. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of people come out like myself, where all of a sudden all these people around you that you thought were your friends, and things just aren't your friends anymore. So it is hard to then go out and then make new friends and all of those things. So that's just one way that we wanted to like make it a little bit easier.
So talking about creating community, both offline, but then you talked a little bit about, you know, finding those people and advertising those events that you're hosting on TikTok. First of all, TikTok is a relatively new platform too. You started on Tumblr, you said, a little bit making friends, but what drew you to TikTok, both professionally, I guess, and personally?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people like myself, it was during the pandemic when everything was shutting down, and I consider myself a bit of a workaholic. So I'm just always doing work-related things, and then all of a sudden having so much free time was kind of difficult. I was like, what do I do now? Yep. So I downloaded TikTok and then just immediately got hooked because I just love social media and pop culture and all of those things. So, and creating videos and stuff. So for me, yeah, I just downloaded it, started posting videos, and I also like love the game of it. I don't know if you feel the same way, where it's like if you do something and it performs well, then you like do something else. You like tweak your content to like make things do well and see what works and what doesn't work and things like that.
It's like a puzzle.
It is like a puzzle, yeah. So, and it also was a way, like I am really into pop culture, as you guys know. So, and I feel like I have all these like random facts. So then I was like, what if I start saying those facts on TikTok and like see if other people are into that too? And then they were, which is really great. And then I also started making videos like showing behind the scenes of working at a radio station and stuff like that.
Which is crazy because something happened. Like I think the reason radio had its resurgence, this is just me observing, is literally because of TikTok. So I worked at a radio station. Was my very first like job in media. I worked at Star 93.3, Cortha Pine Ridge Broadcasting, and I used to So I used to work at a radio station, work the front desk, help edit commercials and whatnot. It's like I knew how radio worked from working there, but like I guess you forget that most people don't understand how it works. The amount of creators that like you probably being like one of the biggest, but the amount of creators that blew up that were radio hosts just showing how radio works. Like I swear to God, that was my For You page for like a month and a half was just how radio works. How's it happen? And it was getting hundreds of thousands of like likes and comments and like people were so like did you feel that in the moment being like, oh my God, everyone loves radio?
Yeah, totally. And I even had a conversation with like my mom about it because I was like, I didn't expect so many people to be interested because I just thought it was like, I thought radio was like this nerdy niche thing that 100%. I'm into because when I hang out with my radio friends, no one wants to hear the conversations that we're talking about because we just are nerding out about radio. So then I was like, I don't think that people would be into this, but then starting to post videos just showing them behind the scenes of like how we bleep out swear words and how we take callers and how we screen people for contests or like things like that. It really started to blow up, and I was so excited to be able to like share this thing that I love and this passion of mine with other people.
And I was gonna say too, what I think you popped up on my feed personally too, doing lives.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that where radio came up for me, seeing how the sausage is made, kind of
totally,
like
just watching behind the
not
scenes.
just like a one-off of how one particular thing works, which is super interesting, how to bleep words and whatnot. But then seeing like a full 5-10 minutes, whatnot, that'll stick around for live.
And I guess too, it's because like there's so many TV shows about TV shows or movies about how movies are made and all that stuff. I feel like actually radio had never been touched, so it actually worked out.
I never thought of it that way.
And it never been touched. So that's why like people were able to like. There's literally full-blown influencers that are radio hosts just because like you guys shared the basics of radio, which is crazy. And now you're probably like gonna have a whole like resurgence of people that want that as a career, like know that it can be an option for them now.
So many, I've been reached out to by so many people that have said they've then gone to radio school because they've like watched my videos and things like that, which is so cool. So I'm glad to like inspire in a little bit, in that way.
Oh my God, I love that.
So yeah.
Wait, on the game front, so you said TikTok's a little bit of a game. So what's working right now, content-wise for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So with TikTok, I mean, I do like to post to see what does well, but then I also do post like things that I'm just interested in because I like making things regardless if it does well or not. But like pop culture stories will also always do well. So things that are like, if I see something like a story come out that is like less than an hour old, I'll like jump on it quick on TikTok. And typically, depending on what it is, or like I guess how well I tell the story or things, that usually does pretty well.
Yeah.
And then also like reaching back in the archive. So like any sort of like pop culture history story that I can give.
I was gonna say
also does well.
The Winona Ryder story that
the
shoplifting story that you told. Yeah, I was hooked on that. I think I watched it 2 or 3 times.
I also feel like there's like things that if you are somebody that's embedded in pop culture that you think everybody else knows, and then you realize, oh wait, majority of people don't know this. So even with some of your videos I've seen, I go, how did this many people not know this story?
Totally.
I was looking today, I can't even think of an example, but there's like the amount of times I'm like, even the fact that people didn't realize that Lisa Marie Presley was married to Michael Jackson at one point. And I go, how do these, like, I guess this generation, they just didn't know, like, whatever it was. But it's like stories like that, which is really cool that you just are able to share all that knowledge and make content out of it.
And I think about that too, like as a millennial, because I'm like, things that I remember that I'm sure a lot of people my age remember, just because we all know it doesn't mean that the next like generation of people know it. So I kind of want to be like a millennial older sister that's like updating you on the history of pop culture, you know? So yeah, I do. And sometimes I'll see videos where I'm like, I had that idea, but I didn't do it because I assumed that everyone knew. And then I see someone else post it and I'm like, darn it. Like,
I did know that.
I'm like, I should have posted that because no one else did know that apparently.
So apparently we should assume nobody knows anything because Jacob didn't know what Abbott Elementary was.
We gotta title the episode something about Abbott Elementary.
Get them on the show.
So you also post clips of interviews that you do.
Yeah.
One thing that popped for me was the Louis Capaldi, like Nardwuar kind of moment.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah,
that's such a compliment.
The deep dive of kind of shocking him into knowing who his brother was and asking him about his brother. So talking about the people that you've interviewed, do you have a favorite? Do you have one that's like a dream coming up that you want to do?
Yeah, there's so many like artists that I want to talk to. So I mainly talk to a lot of like pop singers because of working in pop radio. Louis Capaldi was a big one. I think he was probably one of my favorite people that I have talked to just because.
So cool.
Yeah, and we just had such a good rapport, and it was like in person, which doesn't happen as often because a lot are on Zoom and stuff now. So that one was really fun, and we just like got on really well. So at the end, I was like, am I friends with Louis Capaldi? Like, are we best friends? And then I obviously got him with that question, which he was like so shocked by, and we like talked about it after and stuff. So that was really cool. And then I just interviewed him again a couple months ago, and he was like, "Hey, I remember you." And he was like, "You asked me about my brother. That was a great question." I was about to try and do like a accent for Louis Capaldi, but I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, so that was really cool. That was like a big moment because I am just such a huge fan of his. I've interviewed Ed Sheeran twice now, which has been crazy because he's also just such a nice person. I interviewed Taylor Swift, so I mean, like that obviously is like top of the list. Like I can't believe that I interviewed Taylor Swift.
When did you interview Taylor Swift?
It was
Sorry,
like,
guys, this is what the entire podcast is.
It was like so before Zoom was even a thing. We'd either do in person or phone interviews. So I did a phone interview with Taylor. So I haven't technically met Taylor Swift, but I've interviewed Taylor Swift.
Like what era? Like what year are we talking?
What, 2018?
Okay, so Reputation era.
Yeah. Like right after that.
Wow.
2018, 2019. Yeah. So, and I have a clip of her saying my name in it. Like, so that I just like, anytime I'm having a bad day, I like play Taylor Swift saying my name over and over.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was crazy. But a big one for me, I'm a huge Miley Cyrus fan.
You got to
got to interview Miley Cyrus.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I just am like, I don't typically fangirl over the artist that I interview because I have to be professional. But that one I was like having a hard time not being like, I love you so much.
Do you ever get nervous though? Because like, okay, so
all the time.
But like not even nervous because of who they are, but nervous that they're going to disappoint you.
Yeah, a little bit because
like the don't meet your heroes type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with ones that I really love, like Miley. Like if that interview hadn't gone well, I think that would have like stung every time I like turn on some of my favorite songs by her. But luckily enough, like 99% of the time, the interviews go great. So yeah,
that's good to hear.
Yeah,
that's why I'm terrified to meet Taylor Swift because I think she'll disappoint me and I can't.
No, everyone that I know that's met Taylor Swift has like had nothing but great things.
But then this is my other issue.
That was more a question for you. Is Taylor nice?
Yeah, that's the
subtle. Do you want to know something cool about the interview? that I had with her? Okay, so
I'm like, sorry, everyone. Don't know why one person DM'd me and said, I hope this just eventually becomes a Taylor Swift podcast anyway.
This is starting now. I've done phone interviews and Zoom interviews and every kind of interview, but I've never had, so before the interview with Taylor Swift, she reached out to everyone that was interviewing her that day, I'm assuming, and had everyone send a photo of themselves and 2 fun facts about themselves so that before the interview took place, she felt like she also knew who you were rather than just like picking up each call and like doing the interview. Doing one after another.
Good research. That's so impressive. Cool.
Yeah, and I don't know any other artist that has ever done anything like that. So Taylor Swift, she's like, oh my God. Yeah.
Okay,
amazing.
Points in the good book.
Good books. Yeah. I still just like, I don't know if I can ever meet her unless I'm like having 5 hours with her. It's like the 2 extremes, you know, it's like the extremes. It's like if it would feel, anyways, we don't need to keep talking about me.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually really cool though.
But your Taylor Swift is my Oprah. Like I'm obsessed with Oprah. And then I got to meet her.
And you got to meet Oprah?
It was like, yeah, the whole thing about not meeting your heroes, it was like not there because she was amazing. And it was like everything I could have
Oprah's
imagined.
the reason, like, I mean, like not Oprah, but like part of the reason I do this show is because I watch Oprah with my mom every single day.
Me too. That's the reason I got into broadcasting.
And that's why like I wanted to host a talk show is because of Oprah.
Amazing. Yeah, me too.
So we have a lot in common. We're just going to gush about each other after
this. We'll save it for after.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Okay,
so watch the Oprah deep cuts now.
Who else is though, like, who's like a top person on the list that you haven't got to speak with yet that you want to?
That's a good one. I feel like I really would love to like sit down with Harry Styles. I have a lot of questions.
I saw in your 2022 wrap up, you made eye contact.
I made eye contact with Harry Styles in 2022. Huge. So 2023 is the year of meeting Harry Styles.
I met Harry Styles when I was 16 years old on a show called One Direction Revealed. It was a Much Music thing, so I had a One Direction fan account. He was very nice. But that was a decade ago.
That's
so
wild.
I don't know. Yeah, it was at the old New Music Live studio, so at Queen Street.
Yeah, that's where I work.
Yeah, and he was nice.
Did you ask a question or anything?
No, I didn't. It was weird. It was like they
Did you meet all of them?
Yeah. So what they did is like they dropped a they told us we were there for a show called Fangirls, which or Superfan is what it was called. And then they like did an interview and they screen tested all of us, and then 3 of us got picked.
Nice.
I got picked to be one of the 3 interviews. So it was me and 2 other girls that were interviewed, and everyone else was like standing around. We were all Twitter people though, like we had all, and then like it was Lauren Toyota was hosting, and we were like sitting there talking, and then they like fake a Zoom, like no, it wasn't Zoom at the time, it was Skype. They faked out a Skype thing that One Direction was there, and then they made it glitch, and then all the girls were like screaming, and I turned around and went, they're fucking here. I got, they're fucking here. That's not fake. And then we turn around. There's this like clip that my dad to this day still impersonates. Maybe I'll put it in the video version of this, of me turning around. And then I like am screaming. I'm like shaking the Much Music microphone, and I just start waving it at them like this. And then I don't remember anything else that happened.
No way.
I know I stood next to Liam Payne like during the interview. Lauren let me like go center, but we didn't get to take photos with them or anything. I just like have screenshots from the video. From the video.
Amazing. Wow, what a good experience.
But I had to give Harry my mic, and he was like, "Thank you," and I'm like, that was it. He was nice a decade ago. So
is he your favorite?
No, he wasn't at the time.
No?
I was a Niall girl.
Oh, yeah. I've interviewed Niall a couple of times too.
He's
nice.
Niall.
Yeah.
Niall's my number.
My biggest flex is that he followed me on Twitter and I didn't realize for like 6 months. So then
flex.
Yeah.
That is a flex.
Yeah. Right? I was like, well, I guess I'll follow you back.
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they're gonna he'll like notice me like, oh,
finally.
Better late than never, I guess. Oh my God, that's amazing. So one of the questions I got actually multiple times from people is if you are bringing back your podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that people were as interested in my podcast that they would ask that.
Yeah,
that's so nice.
I had like at least 3 DMs going, I was a listener of Shannon's podcast. Is she bringing it back?
Yeah, so I host a podcast with my friend Paulina, who is our mutual friend that you just met. And we talk about like all things like film and TV and pop culture related, kind of going back into like the archives of pop culture. We stopped doing it. It was mainly like a pandemic project where we were both like working from home and we were on Zoom and we wanted to do this thing. So I don't know if I'm going to bring that podcast back specifically because I love the idea of like some podcasts being like a season of a show or like a limited series, you know? So I think it might end up being that because I have so many other ideas for other podcasts that I want to do. So there might be other things that are in the work down the line.
Wow.
So that's my answer to that. But if you haven't listened to my podcast already, there are a lot of episodes of Pop for Thought, so you can check that out.
Oh my God, I love that. I feel like we just got like a little
there was a tease of exclusive.
I know, not to be, because I know you guys don't like the people that are like, there's a surprise in the works.
We don't gatekeep here.
Like it isn't that because there's literally nothing in the works, but down the line there will be.
We can make something in the works.
And it will be a podcast.
And it will be a podcast. Well, that makes sense.
There you go.
That makes sense.
kind of going back to like the cast of Friends on TikTok.
Okay, yeah.
I've been following you for a little while myself.
You are like low-key a Shannon fanboy.
I know.
I know.
I thought that you would like know nothing about me, so I'm very surprised.
This is something I guess is being.
He knows more about you than
Don't bring it out again.
He knows more about you than Emmy Award-winning Abbott Elementary.
Just been doing my research, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you recently moved in with your girlfriend Morgan.
Yeah.
After being friends for a long time,
right,
and then dating long distance for a long time,
right, yeah,
into a beautiful apartment.
This is what I was going to say first of all, because I know that you just dropped where you got the couch,
right?
But the projector setup is good. But the real question is, how is that how has the transition been? First from dating long distance, but then now to actually
living
being
together
in the same city, not only in the same city, but in living together.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So my girlfriend Morgan and I have been friends for almost 10 years now, which is wild. We met on Tumblr.com, where I met a lot of my queer friends. And then, so we met, we were friends for a really long time. We like always had flings here and there, like crushes on each other, but she lived in North Carolina. I lived in Edmonton at the time. We're like, that is way too far to do anything. And then eventually she was living in Chicago. I was living in Toronto, and we were both single. And then during the pandemic, we started FaceTiming all the time. And then one thing led to another. And now we've been dating for almost 3 years, which is crazy. So we did long distance for over 2 years, which is insane, during the pandemic when the border was still closed. So the first 7 months of our relationship, we didn't see each other in person, which was insane. And then we had to get like this form approved for me to be able to go there or her to come here. And then finally when the border opened, I could go there. But yeah, that whole thing, like dating during a pandemic long distance, is just insane. So then luckily enough, she got like a work permit to come here for a year and then moved here. So she's lived here since May, and we were living together in the apartment that I was living in,
right?
Which was a little small for two people. So that was even like a challenge in itself, but it was just so great. Like anytime that we fight or like bicker about something, we're like, how isn't it so nice that we can like fight because we see each other every single day?
Yeah.
Like,
and have like a reason to bicker.
Yeah, it really gives you this like newfound perspective on it, because like anytime anything, we just like sit down to watch a movie, we're like, remember when we'd have to watch on FaceTime? Like, remember we have to do everything was just always so difficult. So I think it just has made the relationship that much greater. And she loves living in Toronto, so it's very exciting. Yeah, it's great.
I was gonna ask the vibe check on Toronto. So it's like
she loves it. She does have her little things about it, which is teaching me, I think, a lot about the city, because she says that like, she'll point out things like how if you're walking down the street and somebody's walking towards you, they won't get out of the way. Like you always have to be.
Yeah, it's like a face.
You will like bump into people, which I've never noticed, but now I notice it all the time, that people like don't get out of the way and things like that. But she also like has a lot of things about how there's just like everybody is always. She says that Toronto is very much like New York, because people are just always so busy and always doing something. There's like always something going on, and people are always out and about doing stuff, which is very true. So
I guess I was just gonna say, she lived in Chicago before. Chicago and Toronto are like kind of
very
similar
vibes, The population here is bigger, so I think that's the biggest thing. And Chicago has like a lot more history, but they are very similar. Like I would go back and forth a lot.
It's similar energy between the two.
Totally. And like they're both off water. The weather's kind of the same, things like that.
They just have a properly built up waterfront.
Yeah, true.
That's true. That was my biggest gripe when I went to Chicago. I was like, this is what Toronto could look like.
I know our just like water is next to a highway. It's rough.
It's bad.
Does she say Toronto correctly?
She does. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Huge.
You even just pronounced the second T there.
No, Toronto.
Oh, you did. Okay. I'm hearing things. Sorry.
I'm trying to put a CH
I'm looking for a second strike for you.
I'm this close.
Trying to get him off.
Shannon said she wants to do a podcast, and I'm like,
that's the surprise I've been working on.
I just wheel out of here.
I'm the new co-host.
Slow wheel out.
I do talk fast, so I fit the criteria.
You speak at a like it works for my. You know, when people are like, the speed you talk at is perfect for my brain. Like you're all over your videos.
It's
are like
podcast
that
on 2x.
Some people said they normally listen to podcasts on 2x. They're like, I don't think I'm going to do that for this one.
I started doing that with Netflix shows. I've been watching them at
really?
like
you
the
binge
1.5
a season immediately.
Yeah,
I watch YouTube at 1.5 always.
Right.
It's just enough that their voice doesn't get distorted.
Yeah, you like don't really notice, but you get it done quicker,
faster. Exactly. Welcome back to our voicemail segment. If you have a question for any of our guests or for us, we can try to give advice, answer the questions. You can email us at talkingfastshow@gmail.com, which we actually got questions in our email finally.
Did we really?
So people are listening. It's working. Or you can DM us on Instagram at talkingfastshow. Jacob, you were going to kick us off with a voicemail.
Sarah, first voicemail question that we have, and it comes from Holly. What is a typical day off for you? What does that look like?
Nice. Is that for
It's
me?
for you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, or all of us?
All of us.
A typical day off?
It was specific to
Ooh.
Shannon. What is a typical day off for you?
I usually get like, what's a typical day in the life working? So a day off, typically the routine that I've tried to get into, especially because right now it's January, and I've been doing like dry January. So I've been trying to like really self-care, do all of those things, which I'm sure will fall off in like a week or two. But I'll wake up like on a Saturday morning, let myself sleep in a little bit because I don't get to sleep in during the week. And then I will be the typical Toronto girl. I will go to like a spin class or Pilates.
As you should.
And then shout out Sweat and Tonic. And then come home, usually like, I don't know, make lunch with my girlfriend, and then we'll like do any errands that we have to do that day, or just like lounge around our house, because we did recently move into a new apartment that is huge. It's like so weirdly big.
It's beautiful.
And the rent is Toronto price rent, so I can't afford to do anything other than just hang out in my apartment. So, so I've been doing that a lot and watching a lot of movies because it's like award season right now. So that's typically, I'll just like catch up on shows and probably make like a TikTok or two, and that's my day off. And then typically if I'm not in like a wellness phase, then I'll like go out with the lesbian group, and then go to someone's house for like a house party or like go to a bar.
And you guys have very specifically themed parties too.
Yeah, we love a theme.
I remember last time that I saw you was when you were going to like a sexy vampire themed party.
That's a theme right there.
It was.
Yeah, there was like it was a vampire themed party, and I didn't realize that they were all gonna like take the sexy route, and they're all wearing like BDSM things and like cute fangs and like gelling their hair back. I showed up in like full vampire like white face
like
with like
Patty Herring in
Mean Girls. Yeah, like I turned my like curtain from my office into like my cape, and I like had a whole thing, and I showed up, and my friends didn't even recognize me. There were friends that were like asking who I was, or like if I was a friend of a friend. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, there's a TikTok of it out there if you want to see.
That's a plug. Go watch Shannon's TikToks.
At it's Shannon Burns. Thank you so much.
My days off are pretty similar.
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly what I did on Sunday. So
nice.
What about you? What do you do
My
on
days off? Well,
you take no days off.
I was going to say, you just work all the time.
I work all the time.
You
but
posted
I
a
took
photo from the ocean.
I took a couple of days off where I unplugged a little bit. It was a weekend.
Good. Oh, wow.
On the holiday.
That's
so
wild.
you had to fly somewhere else.
So it's rare. My days off are like still on the phone, but in the ocean and stuff.
Yeah, there's a great photo on your Instagram.
You could not make me work if I'm near an ocean. There's no way.
I love that. Okay, question number 2 is for you, Shannon. So Jillian asked, navigating with your relationship with your partner when you're both on your periods. We are synced up messes right now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. My girlfriend and I just like synced up a couple months ago.
Because I was going to say, because you've been living together, so that was bound to happen.
So it has happened, and it's honest. Well, if we want to get like a little TMI, there's pros and cons, because if we have it at separate times, then that's like half the month that
that's like
things
bad
are
energy
getting in the way.
That's true.
And then it makes it hard to do certain things. But having it at the same time is like, we know that we bug each other, and now we can like go into different rooms and like take care of ourselves and focus on that. And I can have a bath and she can go do her thing. So we know when to like be near each other, and we know when to like help each other out, and then we also know when to like leave each other alone.
So it's almost better to be synced up, because then it's like the energy's matched.
Yeah. And I never have tampons. I always run out, and being in a lesbian relationship is so handy because she will always have some. So it's like, it's great.
That's a hack. I love that.
Yeah.
Key. Third mailbag question, and this is
not called mailbag anymore.
Third voicemail question. Sarah, this one's directed at you because you've done so much traveling this year, and if you've done a lot of traveling too, jump in. Big and small trips, please share how you budget accordingly for trips and hacks to save money while traveling. Thanks for the content always. Been a fan since March. Shauna.
March of 2020 specifically. Wow. That's 3 years ago.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
I put this question in here, and then I didn't think about what my answer would be before we started recording, which is a very typical thing that happens. One huge thing that's a budget saver for me for travel is I book about maybe not half, but a quarter of my trips every year on credit card points, and I book most of my flights on points. So I just put everything on my credit cards, and then a flight to New York is like 27,000 points round trip, and usually I can get like up to 150,000 points a year when I'm like spending. So
Nice.
that's like my biggest hack for travel is just like get a good travel credit card. I'd say that. And then also just a hack I've always done is just when you know you're going somewhere, just like out of your paycheck, just put like a little extra money away that you know specifically is for that trip. Staying in hostels is always an option. I don't really do that, but it is an option to save money. But yeah, the credit card thing is kind of just how I afford. And then I'm always have like flight trackers on if I know I might want to go somewhere.
I was gonna say like Hopper is always what I
always a good one.
keep when I know I'm going
like
somewhere.
A hawk.
Yeah, like a hawk.
I will wait 2-3 weeks till book.
Do you know what I actually just used? So Kara and Nate are like YouTubers, travel YouTubers, and they launched this thing called Fare Drop. And it's interesting because it's like a subscription-based thing. I paid for like the year I got on Black Friday, and they send you notifications for like flights that have dropped from like all over the world from your airport. So like it'll be like, this round trip flight to Paris is down to like $400 if you like, so it'll send you notifications as well. So I have those, but it's mostly the flight that is the hardest part. And then if I can save there, then I'll figure it. I'm also not a big foodie, so like I'll just eat like snacks the whole time.
You know what I'll add too is just communication. If you're traveling with other people, for expectations of like where you're gonna go and what you're gonna do. Because I've traveled with some people that are like, let's go on a fancy dinner, and I'm looking to eat some like fast food.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll eat like in New York, I eat pizza and bagels every single day. Like I'm not looking to spend a lot of money on food.
Yeah, usually like once a year I go on a trip. I have like a group of lesbian friends in America. Every country I have a group of queer friends, and we'll rent an Airbnb together, and there's typically like 10 of us, so by the time that you break that down, it's so dirt cheap to stay somewhere. And because we all just like don't see each other very often, we won't go out a ton and won't go to restaurants and things, and we'll just like do a big grocery haul and then cook a lot of meals at the Airbnb and then kind of do that. So
nice.
Those trips end up costing like nothing.
Yeah, when you go with bigger groups.
Yeah.
But then you also have to deal with a big group of people, which if you don't see them a lot, that's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Shannon. Izzy's going to bring you out something. Okay, so I'm not taking credit for this. Izzy, our amazing AP, she calls herself an intern, but I swear to God she's paid. She had this idea to start giving our guests little self-care kits based on like things they do. So yesterday we went and picked up everything to protect your voice, because your voice is your job.
Nice. Thank you guys so much. I see some honey in there, some tea. I love Nivea. I'm obsessed.
Okay, amazing. I'm glad.
My goodness,
this is your little self-care basket.
I love this. Thank you so much. This is so sweet.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.
We're going to go hang out now, but thank you all for listening as always. Make sure you give us all the positive feedback. We want the thumbs up, the subscribes, the downloads, all the things that make us look good, so that we can chart every week.
I was going to say, I'm no longer in Mexico, so if you're in Mexico, please watch that a few times, because we're trying to stay top of the charts.
Whether you watched or listened, I hope you come back next week, and we will see you then.